Alrighty, so yes, like I was saying, 26th of July, it is Friday. We do have the core PCE price index for the US tonight to be released at 8:30 p.m. GMT plus 8. Markets have been absolutely quiet for the whole day. I was planning to get into some quick trades today. I came into the office thinking, all right, might have some trades, but haven't got into anything at all. Looking forward to the core PCE price index, looking forward to more volatility coming in. If you are new to the session, do drop a message and say hi. Let me know where you're joining us from. And for all the regulars, hey Nev, how you doing? Good morning. Hey Christina, good morning. For all the regulars, a big welcome back, a good morning. If you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to put it into the chat and let me know. And you can help me out massively by remembering to click on that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Okay? Quick disclaimer, any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material only, as the contents of this webinar are not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product. Please remember that your objectives, financial situation and needs has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. Now, take that away. Oops. Okay. Like I was saying, core PCE price index tonight at 8:30 p.m. GMT plus 8. It is currently 0.1%. It's expected to rise slightly. Surprisingly, it is expected to rise slightly to a 0.2%. Right? Last month, we saw it go from a 0.2, revised up to 0.3, expected to drop to 0.1, came out as expected at a 0.1. So it's a little bit surprising to see it, to see an expectation for core PCE price index to increase, but you should also notice that they have been quite good, right? The forecast has been quite good. Generally, we have seen it always be, well, not always, we've seen it quite often being released as forecasted. So possibly going to anticipate a 0.2% here for the US core PCE price index tonight. Again, core PCE price index is the Fed Reserve's primary inflation measure, right? Similar to the CPI, the Fed Reserve also pays attention to the core PCE price index. The only difference is that differs from the core CPI in that it measures goods and services targeted towards and consumed by individuals. Okay, so that's a small difference, and that's why they pay attention to it. Core on the core PCE price index, YPCE, personal consumption expenditures. All right, so that's something to look out for today or later today. What happened last night? A bit surprising. We saw the US GDP, advanced GDP quarter on quarter. It was a 1.6, revised slightly down to 1.4, expected a 2, got released at a 2.8, got released quite big at a 2.8. But despite that 2.8 number, what we saw on the dollar index, on the dollar index front, was with that news release. I'll zoom in a bit more. All right, it happened at 8:30 p.m. So you see here at the one across. Okay, 8 o'clock candle. Move that one across. You'll see that it started at that 104.27 level, pushed down, pushed right up, and then ended almost unchanged at 104.30, continued up, and then pushed back down again. So it remained within the range of 104.20 and 104.40, right? Dollar index in that tight range. Still trying to figure out the overall bias or the direction where it's heading towards, right? Develop that direction towards where it should be heading towards. So that's why tonight's core PCE price index might be quite important. I don't think a 0.2 is going to change it too much unless we see a very big number. Looking at the CME Fed Watch 2, July's number is looking at a 93.3 end of July. Most likely we're going to see them keep rates on hold with a small 6.7% chance for a rate cut decision, but we're almost, I mean, this was no change from what we looked at yesterday, where it's 100% likelihood that they will look at a rate cut decision on the 18th of September from the Fed Reserve. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. And because it is the end of the week, I want to show you, this is next week. Right, even if I don't get into many trades today, through this week I've had many trades on the yen already. We were talking about this earlier today. Right, a lot of trades on the yen this week. If I don't get into anything today, I won't feel like I have to rush into it because to next week should be, I hope I don't jinx it, but next week should be a big one, right? We have well, we have JOLTS jobs openings for the US, that's fine, on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have the Aussie CPI number to be released, right? And if you look at it, Aussie CPI year on year, it recently just had that, well, recently, right? Between April, it went up from 3.4 to 3.5. May went up from 3.5 to 3.6. June had a big jump from 3.6 to 4. Now, again, if it doesn't go down, that might lead to a rate hike decision. It looks like, apart from everyone else, Australia seems to be losing that fight against the inflation slowdown. If it doesn't go from a 4 to a 3.8 or less, we might see a rate hike decision come around from the RBA. And together with that, on Wednesday, I will be very keen to look at what the BOJ comes out with on their decision. A lot of rumors, a lot of talk that they could be looking to hike rates again on the 31st of July. Right, it looks like they could be looking to hike rates again on the 31st of July, but with the way that I'm looking at the price movements, I'll tell you more in detail on Wednesday, but it looks like it might hike rates, might not have the impact they're looking at. So that's going to be very interesting on the BOJ front. And also, following on from that, we have a whole bunch of CPI numbers to come from the Eurozone. We have, you have my voice totally going and gone. We have the Fed Reserve with their rate decision on Thursday morning, Wednesday night for you guys. Keeping rates on hold at 5.5%. I don't think we're going to see a surprise there. And then on Thursday, we're going to have the BOE with their interest rate decision. A 25 basis point rate cut expected to come from the BOE next week. And as if it's not important, as if it's not impactful and high volatility, potentially high volatility enough, we're going to see the non-farm employment change number for the US on Friday. Right? So a lot of news next week. Again, might be whatever happens tonight. But we're looking at the fireworks starting from Wednesday next week with the CPI for the Aussie, with the BOJ with their rates decision, with the Fed Reserve with their rate decision, and the BOE with their rate decision, and then ending next week with the non-farm employment change. A lot of volatility. I think there's going to be a lot of setups coming around. So tonight's core PCE price index is the one where you don't want to feel like you rush into it and spoil a good week and spoil your next week. We'll look at some trade setups. If it happens, we'll jump into it. If it doesn't, we'll look forward to next week. Okay? So now looking at the dollar index. Well, wait, any questions so far? Put it into the chat and let me know. If not, we're moving ahead. If it's all good, put it into the chat and let me know as well. Okay? Now, looking at the dollar index, it is still consolidating between 104.20 and 104.40. Now, with the core PCE price index expecting or forecasted to be at a 0.2%, it does look like we might see it push up. Right? It does look like we might see it push up because 0.1 to 0.2, no increased push in for the Fed to cut rates. We could see this push up, break above this point, 104.40. Hey Jamil, how are you doing? Break above 104.40, 104.50. Okay, I'm going to be a little bit more conservative here. Right, it's consolidating between 104.20 and 104.40. It needs to break. I'm looking at an upside. I'm looking at a potential upside. Right? So it needs to break 104.60. It needs to break 104.60 to retest 104.80. If we see a 0.2% on for the PCE. All right. There we go. Jamil said my gold hit its target. Fine, that's awesome. Love that. Love to see that. All right, so what I'm looking at is while it's sitting in this consolidation, I wouldn't be too keen on doing anything at this point. I'm looking for the upside. Only when it breaks above this point, then I think that it could get to the next resistance level at 104.80. Hey Angel Case, how are you doing? Needs to break 104.60, get to 104.80. Overall, looking at some strength, recovery in strength on the dollar. Okay, then onto the Kiwi. Take that away. Oh, we were talking about this earlier today on the Kiwi. As it broke down that 0.59 level, it took a bit longer. Right, we had our session at 6 o'clock. It broke through that point. On release of the news, we saw the dollar spike around. So it shot down. I got out at 20 pips on my Kiwi because on my Aussie that I got into during the session yesterday, it came down slightly, but at the same time, it was pushing right on the news. It was pushing back up. So closed out on my Kiwi, saw the Aussie hit my stop loss. I was pretty much even between my Kiwi and the Aussie, but I was scalping on the yen through last night. All right, or through yesterday. So Kiwi broke down, closed that out already. Take that away. Right? If you are still holding on to it, what I'm looking at here is what I'm looking at here for the Kiwi is that dollar in that consolidation, if it breaks through, then we could see further upside sitting there. I do think that it's going to sit in this area just below this point here, right? Just below this point, that 0.59 level, and then break lower to the downside. I'm thinking about this 5880 level. If we sold this down, it's very tiny. It's tiny, tiny. Take that away. It's a bit too small. Let's look at it on H4. That's fine. I think that level we definitely want to respect, because it's bounced off on the 14th of November last year. It's bounced off a couple of times on the 6th in April, came close in May, and bounced off. So I definitely want to see what happens at this 5865 level. All right, and because I'm not expecting a huge move on the dollar at this point as well. Okay, so coming back to it on the H1 time frame, I am actually thinking that it might sit here, test, and then push back down towards that support, but I want to see what happens at this point. I feel like if it does break down, it might not be a today thing. It might be a next week kind of setup. So we want to see what happens at 5864, 5865. We'll be looking at 5855, stop loss 20 pips, take profit 75 to the downside, right? But I just want to wait and see. You want to watch for that reaction at 5865 support level. Remember, it's bounced off that point many times. So look for reaction at 0.5865. Sell if it breaks. We're looking to sell at 0.5855, 20 to 75. Sell at 5855, stop loss 20, take profit 75 to the downside. There we go. Then now onto the Aussie dollar. Right, so I hit my stop loss on the Aussie there as it popped right back up, lost 20 on that, which is fine, made 20 on the Kiwi to recover that. What I'm looking at here is that it's pushed up, retraced slightly, sitting right across. Although this MACD shows like it's trying to cross to the downside. Oh, we have some options expiry for the week ahead. Okay. I am looking for a possibility. I don't need this point. I am looking at the possibility for a bit of a push, further push to the upside. All right, so I'm looking at it sitting here, testing that resistance and pushing back down again. And if I look at this as an overall, that makes sense. Test, reject. Okay. So what we're looking for, a test and reject, 6566. Stop loss, tight. No more than, I think 15 is reasonable, 20 would be generous. Back down to this point will be 45, which is that previous swing low. You can go down to 70 to the downside. All right, so we're looking for it to test the resistance, reject that resistance, 6566, 20 to 70 to the downside. Sell at 6566. Yep. Stop loss 20, take profit 70 to the downside. All right, there we go. Nothing too exciting now. Okay, then this one is the one that we've been looking at. We've been stalking this. Haider was on it, Dr. Fear was on it, I think Lindy was on it as well. We've been stalking this through the day. Early this morning we came in and we saw down, bounce, down, bounce, down, looking for that bounce. We're forming that inverted head and shoulder. And I hope I don't jinx it, but we're looking at that inverted head and shoulder forming with the neckline. If I would draw that more accurately, it would be about there, which is formed, which is in confluence with this big move to the downside. We have 23.6. With this move to the downside, we have 38.2. So all that fib retracement levels are forming a bit of a confluence. Those are the two fib retracement levels together with the candle as the neckline. So I'll say that's the neckline. If we see that dollar strength come back into play, we should or could see the US yen form the inverted head and shoulder, pushing back up. You could be looking at above 154.75. No, 154.65. Stop loss, we'll keep it just below that neckline, 50 pips. Take profit, even if it went up to here, it'd be 100 pips on that previous swing level. And you look for that first. Once it gets there, you can look for it to run further up again. Okay, so I'll be looking for that as my first move on my, losing my voice, hang on. That's my 61.8 as well. So I'm looking at that point. And let's see where that one coincides. That's my 38.2 as well. So we're looking at that area. Right? There we go. So downward move, inverted head and shoulder, looking for it to push up. MACD looks like it's going to cross over to the upside, needs to break that neckline. We're looking at 154.65, 50 to 100 to the upside. And I'll tell you about this now as well. This was very important yesterday. Was stressing over and over and over about this, that it came down to that one, or it's coming down to that 152. Wait for it. Needs to break before we sell. Didn't break. We saw it bounce off one, well, break through once, bounce off once, and it's done it again. All right. And you can see that once it bounced off this point, we saw very good upside on the US yen, anticipating a relatively similar move. It just needs to break that point. So 154, wait, where am I? Here I am, delete that away. We're looking to buy this time at 154.65, stop loss 50, take profit 100 to the upside for the US yen. Looking for that to break. I'm not expecting a big move yet until next week, Wednesday, with the BOJ's decision. Wednesday night or Thursday morning with the Fed Reserve's decision, then we might see a further push up again. But for now, we're looking at it just to break that neckline area to the upside. Okay, makes sense so far? Put it into the chat and let me know. Then onto the pound, the dollar, it's pushed down, it's bounced back up, it's sitting along this support area. right? Sitting along this support area. And you see that this point works with a bit too many dotted lines up there. We'll take this one away for now. And that one away. We'll keep that one there. Okay. So I'm looking at this. I'm thinking, what if we get the dollar wrong? What if it doesn't strengthen? What if core PCE price index comes in at a minus, or minus would be fantastic, or when it comes in at 0.1%, showing a slowdown in inflation growth? We're going to see the dollar weaken massively. Could see the pound dollar bounce off this support level to push up. Bear in mind, yes, next week we do have the BOE with their rate decision, so we could see more volatility there. But for now, I'm thinking that if the dollar doesn't strengthen further, 1.2880, we have a 25 to a 60. I like this point here. Does it coincide? That's my 50 there. Yeah, that's my 50 there. All right, so I'm looking at a 25 to a 70 or 65 to the upside on dollar weakness. On dollar weakness. 1.28. We're looking to buy at 1.2880. Stop loss 25. Take profit 65 to the upside on dollar weakness. Okay. Then on to the euro dollar, pushed up, sat there, pushed up, sat there. If you did get into this trade, you might be at break even or losing a little bit at this point. Now, if we took this up this way, you'll see that this 23.6 level has held as well. Well, close and has held. So it's pushed down, it's tested, rejected, tested, rejected, tested again slightly, rejected. So what we're looking for in this case would be, I think 50 is good there, but it's a little bit too near. I think we're looking at that point there, which is also that point. Now, looking at this break down. Okay, no, I would still do the 50. I think 60 is there, but 60 looks a little bit weak. So what I'll be looking for here is, if we see that dollar strength come back into play, bounce around here, we're looking for it to break that level and hit lower. Then I'll be looking to sell down 1.083. I know 30 would be good. I'm just thinking whether it could go a little bit earlier. I think it'd be better to do 30. Stop loss would be at 20 pips at the very most. Take profit, you could go down 75 with a hesitation at 1.0810. Brief hesitation. Okay, so we're looking at that test, breakdown, and also because of that move down. Okay, there we go. Yep, I'm happy with that. 1.08. This one we're going to look to sell. Thanks for that, Jamil. 1.08. 3020 to 75. 1.08. Where am I? 30 stop loss 20, take profit 75 with a hesitation at 1.080910. Hesitation at 1.0810. There we go. Good, good, good. I'm happy with that. Now with that, then onto the US Swiss franc. Wanted to see it drop a little bit more to that support level before pushing up, but it didn't. It just came right down to this 8782 level, which was some levels that we looked at, not very strong levels, but it's found that point and decided to bounce off from there. That's done. We don't need that anymore. Let me see. Don't need that. Take that away. Okay, now with this, move down. Okay, zoom in. 23, it's broken 23, it's just broken 23. It's heading towards 38.2. Okay, we take that away and that away. For now, Jamil says for US Swiss franc, look at the daily. Hang on a second, let me just move that away. Okay, oops. What's happening? Okay, look at the daily. What's happening on the daily time frame? It's pushing it, sitting right there. There's a bit too many lines. I'm finding too many lines on my squeezy. But it all comes down to what's going to happen tonight. I was going to say that I think I see your point there, Jamil, but I'm just looking at that resistance area. I've got a feeling that it could test and reject back down. Right? It could test and reject back down on the US Swiss franc. I just don't know whether it's going to test only that resistance or whether it's going to test a little bit higher that way. Right? And this is if we see that dollar weakness come back into play. It's sitting in there. Just purely looking at the technicals, I think that it could test and come back in. Or it will just break out from here and push to the upside. It all comes down to the volatility of the dollar index. So we're going to see a reaction at 8840. All right, so US Swiss franc, we want to see, look for reaction at 0.8840. Depends on DXY volatility. It's, it all comes down to if this guy is going to break that consolidation to the upside and further higher, then you're going to see the US Swiss franc break that resistance and further higher. If it sits there in consolidation and it retraces and corrects back down, then the US Swiss franc is going to test resistance and push right back down. So look out for that resistance level. Then we'll see what happens from there. You have your setup ready. You're looking at about 8845. Stop loss tight 15, take profit. You could go up to 60 to the upside, 50 to the 55 to the upside. If it rejects, then you're looking at 8815. You're looking at a stop tight at 15, take profit down to 30. Right? So you're looking at that. Yes, dollar index and US Swiss franc is in that same direction. So we're looking for that decision in the middle. On to, oh wow, I just realized something. I'm going through this really quickly, but I want to show you this as well. As we were referring to the US Swiss franc on the daily chart, if you look at this, if you look at the US yen, I'm very keen on this. Cannot stress how keen and how much I'm looking forward to a potential move here. If you look at it on H4 time frame, you'll see that it's bounced off this point and pushed up, very similar to what we're seeing forming right now. Right, and also you'll notice that MACD has crossed up very strongly as well. On the daily time frame, zoom it in right now, you'll see that there was a big, you can't see because I've drawn all over it, but there's a doji candle there where it's right at that level. I'll take that away for now. Right, you see that push down, it came right down, tested this support turned resistance, well, resistance turned support level, and it's pushing up. It shows like it's going to cross over. I really like this to signal that potential upward push. So that's how much I'm looking forward to this possible move. Okay, I'm going to draw that back. Can I do that? Yeah, draw it back in again. Okay, so I wanted to just highlight this, not saying that it's a guarantee, nothing is ever guaranteed. Looks good on the daily time frame, looks good on the H4 time frame, looks good on H1 time frame. I'm keen. Are you keen? Let me know, put it into the chat. Then onto the uscad, hasn't done anything that we expected. Right, bounce around this level to push up. It's bounced around, but hasn't pushed up yet. Or would it? Now on that trend line, it's still holding. We have that point there. So it's still holding there. Dollar index is sitting right there. I don't like it as much right now, simply because you've seen that test and reject the push back down. We've seen a good steady climb on the uscad. It's somewhat in the middle. If I just took that as a resistance, I like that as a bit of a support. It's right in the middle of that support and resistance level. So I wouldn't be too keen on this on the uscad, the loonie. Right? Middle of support and resistance level to nothing. To nothing at all. Okay, I think we have good setups. We have good setups here on the Kiwi, on the Aussie, on the dollar strength scenario. We have very good, I hope, a very good setup here on the US yen. We have both that potential on the pound. On dollar weakness, we have the sell on the euro, on dollar strength. So I like that. We've got our bases covered. We don't have to take the unnecessary speculation on the loonie especially. Then on to gold. Right, we talked about this to test and reject that resistance level to push down. Yesterday we were saying look for reaction at 23.85 resistance. Rejection could trade down to 23.65. I think that's where Jamil picked up that profit, the TP on that. It did push up to 23.82 and push right down to 23.65 and beyond. Came to 23.56 and bounced back up slightly. At this point here, now on gold, you see that, you know, just from this H1, we already see it at this 23.72 level, crossing over immediately. I'm thinking that if that dollar does gain that strength, right, regain that strength. I don't need this. Let me see. Put that 50. Just check. I don't need that. That's fine. 61. I don't need that. Take that away. All right, we've seen that move down. We've seen it test 23.6 retracement, looking like it's going to push back down. Now looking at this area here, holding. Right, we're going to see it break. If it breaks 23.64, I would be looking for it to go, below 23.64. We'll be looking for it to get to 23.50. Right, and that is especially if we see that dollar strength. Right, dollars, well, DXY strength. We're looking for gold to break 23.65 to head down to 23.50. 23.65 to trade down to 23.50. Alrighty. That's it. We're looking for those levels. Again, if it doesn't get to those points, don't feel like you have to rush into that trade. 23.65. Yeah, okay. Yeah, if it doesn't get any of this setups, don't feel like you have to rush in. We have a lot of other trade, a lot of news next week and trade setups next week. So a lot of things to look out for. Bitcoin was one of my trade of the week that was doing very well. It's bounced off the support, had a small retrace. Now looking like it's going to push back up. Main thing is you want it to break above that 68,000 level first, before we could see it go back up to retest that resistance about 74,000. Okay? Any further questions, please reach out to me on the Discord channel. If you haven't joined us on Discord already, where have you been? The link is in the description below. Join us on Discord. And if you have any questions, reach out there. I'll keep this stream running for a little while more. It's not super exciting for today, so might not keep it on for too much longer. But yeah, remember, help me out. Click that like and subscribe. I'm actually looking forward to next week already. I'm looking forward to all that potential volatility next week. All right, so trade well, trade safe. Please have a fantastic weekend. I will see you all on the continuation of this stream and into next week. Take care now.